Well, Ian Lee is an associate professor at the Sprott School of Business at Carleton University, and he joins us this morning to talk more about Canada's inflation situation here. Good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Ian, a lot of people are looking for some good news in the latest numbers. So what do you make of what we've seen when it comes to inflation in Canada?
Well, it's the proverbial joke, the good news and the bad news. The good news is that it didn't go up. The bad news is it didn't go down. And I mean by that, we've experienced several months throughout this year of significant rate increases by the central bank to cool down the economy. It has cooled down the economy somewhat. It's no longer going up. But as I said, the bad news is it isn't going back down to where they publicly have said it must go, which is around 1.5% to 2%. So that suggests, I think, that there's more rate increases ahead.
So with that in mind, though, realistically, these numbers don't generally sort of shoot up and then shoot back down, do they? Isn't it more of a gradual comeback down to sort of in that range? And that seems to be kind of the goal, right? Because if you have these,
Yes.
echocardiogram sort of charts, that's not good for the whole overall economy, is it either?
Nick, you're right. There's a lag in the data. It takes a while. In fact, the former governor of the Bank of Canada was quoted on the record as saying it takes a full 18 months for interest rate increase to percolate through the economy. Some of it impacts right away. We see it on housing. It's really cooling down the housing market, but it takes a longer time on other supply chain issues. I mean, I thought the good news, there was a little bit of secondary good news. It's very important to everybody, is that it seems that food prices are moderating and even maybe starting to come down. So there is, yes, as your reporter said, there is light at the end of the tunnel. The problem is, I think that light is about a year or so away before we see, maybe a year and a half, before we see it come back down, inflation come back down to the 2% range. At least that's what the Bank of Canada is forecasting.
And that's what I was going to say, Professor, we all know Tiff Macklem and the Bank of Canada. This isn't just a Tiff Macklem thing. I mean, for years, that 2% range of inflation, that has been really the stated goal of the central bank. And it's going to take some time to get there. But with the way we've seen all these, interest rate hikes this year, a lot of people expect we're going to see another one next month, but what do you expect that we will see, potentially next year? Do you, maybe just a freeze, or do you think there may be some gradual dropping of that key rate? Because so many people and so much of the economy is based on where that rate is.
You're absolutely right. And I'm saying that as a former banker many years ago. And interest rates, the economy is incredibly sensitive throughout. I don't just mean consumers. I mean small business, medium business, big business, governments. Everybody's very sensitive. To your question, I don't think that we're going to see the interest rates come down, the central bank rate come down in 2023, because it takes a while for it to work through, because we're going to see inflation incrementally decline. I think they're going to wait to make sure that it's really become embedded. Lower inflation has become embedded. And so I don't think we'll be seeing interest rate declines until 2024. I do believe that when rates do go back down, though, to 2% range, I do think we're going to get there in a year and a half or so. I do believe that after that is achieved, we will see incremental, steady declines in interest rates. I don't believe they will remain elevated once we get that inflation genie back inside the bottle where we want it to go.
Yeah, let's tuck it back in there indeed and buckle our seatbelts in the meantime. Professor Ian Lee, always appreciate the insight and analysis. Thanks for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.